Let's try that thing they did in the video. Maybe it'll be fun. Mary hesitated but nodded. Okay, but I don't know what I am doing. Before we begin, please like and subscribe, and turn on the bell notification to get notification when we post our next video. In a lively and colorful neighborhood in Lagos, the air was always filled with the sounds of children laughing, vendors calling out their wares, and cars honking as they navigated the busy streets. Among the many kids who called this vibrant community home were two inseparable best friends, Samuel and Mary. Both 11 years old, Samuel and Mary did everything together. They walked to school side by side, played soccer in the dusty open field near their homes, and shared stories under the big mango tree after school. Their bond was like that of siblings, built on years of trust and countless shared adventures. One sunny afternoon, Samuel couldn't wait to show Mary his newest treasure, a shiny new tablet, a birthday gift from his parents. The sleek device gleamed in the sunlight as Samuel proudly turned it on. Mary's eyes widened with excitement. "Wow, Samuel, your tablet is so cool," Mary exclaimed, leaning closer to get a better look. "Thanks. It's got all kinds of games and apps," Samuel said with a grin. "Come on, let's see what we can do with it." The pair quickly became engrossed in exploring the endless possibilities of Samuel's tablet, giggling as they discovered silly videos, challenging games, and fun apps. Little did they know, this innocent excitement would soon lead them down an unexpected and troubling path. One breezy afternoon, Samuel and Mary were back in Samuel's room, the tablet resting on a soft pillow between them. They had already spent an hour playing games and laughing over funny videos, their voices filling the room with the warmth of their friendship. Just as they were about to try a new game, something unusual caught Mary's eye. "Samuel, what's that app?" she asked, pointing to an icon tucked in the corner of the screen. Samuel squinted. "I don't know. I've never opened it before." The app's icon was dull and nondescript, unlike the colorful games and streaming platforms they usually used. Curiosity bubbled between them as Samuel tapped the icon. The screen flickered for a moment, then loaded a list of videos with vague thumbnails and titles that didn't make much sense to them. "What kind of videos are these?" Mary whispered, leaning closer. Samuel hesitated but clicked on the first video. The screen lit up with moving images and sounds that were unlike anything they had seen before. At first, neither of them spoke. The content felt strange, unfamiliar, and unsettling. "I don't think I like this," Mary finally said, shifting uncomfortably on the bed. "Me neither," Samuel replied, but his finger hovered over the screen, unsure whether to close the app or click on another video. Something about the unfamiliarity drew them in, even though it made their stomachs churn with unease. Maybe just one more?" Mary suggested hesitantly, her voice wavering. Samuel nodded silently and selected another video. This time, the images were even more confusing, the sounds sharper and louder. A knot formed in Samuel's chest, and he glanced at Mary. She looked away from the screen, biting her lip nervously. When the video ended, Mary quickly reached over and closed the app. "That's enough. We shouldn't watch that anymore." "Yeah," Samuel agreed softly, but the weight in the room was unmistakable. The videos had left them both with feelings they couldn't quite put into words: discomfort, guilt, and a strange, gnawing curiosity. For the rest of the afternoon, their usual chatter was replaced by an unusual quiet. They played games and watched other videos, but their laughter felt forced. The app and its strange content lingered in their minds like a shadow. By the time Mary went home, Samuel sat alone with the tablet in his hands. He thought about what they had watched and how it had made him feel. He wanted to talk to someone about it, but didn't know how to explain it. That night, as Mary lay in bed, the images replayed in her mind. She wanted to forget them, but they wouldn't go away. A part of her felt guilty, like they had done something wrong, even though she wasn't sure what. Neither of them knew it yet, but this was the beginning of a troubling secret that would challenge their friendship and teach them a lesson about the importance of speaking up. Days turned into weeks, and the app that Samuel and Mary had stumbled upon began to occupy more of their time. What started as a brief, unsettling curiosity grew into a habit. Whenever they were alone with the tablet, the strange videos called to them. They didn't understand why they kept watching. Perhaps it was the mystery or the fear of missing something, but they found themselves drawn to the app again and again. The changes in their behavior were subtle at first. Samuel and Mary no longer raced to the soccer field after school as they used to. The laughter that once rang out during their games under the mango tree was now replaced by hushed whispers and furtive glances. They spent hours indoors, huddled around the tablet, their faces illuminated by its glow. As the content of the videos became stranger and more confusing, the feelings of discomfort they once felt began to mix with a sense of guilt. They knew, deep down, that what they were doing wasn't right, but they couldn't bring themselves to stop. Instead of talking about it, they chose to keep it a secret, even from each other. "Do you think it's bad to watch these?" Mary asked one afternoon, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know," Samuel replied, avoiding her gaze. "But we don't have to tell anyone. It's not like we're hurting anybody." Their shared secret began to weigh heavily on them. They laughed less, their conversations grew shorter, and their once carefree friendship became strained. Even their parents noticed the change. "Samuel, why don't you go outside and play with your friends?" his mom asked one evening. "I am tired," Samuel mumbled, keeping his eyes glued to the tablet. His mom frowned. It wasn't like Samuel to stay indoors, especially when his friends were calling him from outside. Similarly, Mary's parents began to worry about her sudden quietness. "Are you feeling okay, Mary?" her dad asked as they sat at the dinner table. "Yes, Dad," Mary replied quickly, poking at her food with her fork. "You've been so quiet lately. You barely play outside anymore," her mom added. "Is something wrong?" "No, nothing's wrong," Mary said, forcing a smile. But her parents weren't convinced. They exchanged worried glances, unsure of how to reach their once bubbly daughter. The changes in Samuel and Mary didn't go unnoticed by their friends either. "Why don't you guys come play soccer anymore?" one of their classmates asked after school. "We're busy," Samuel replied curtly, rushing past them. The more time they spent watching the videos, the more isolated they felt, not just from their friends and families, but from each other. Though they didn't talk about it, both Samuel and Mary were beginning to feel the weight of their secret. It was as if a wall had grown between them and the rest of the world, and neither of them knew how to break it down. As the days passed, the weight of the secret began to press harder on Samuel and Mary. The once simple joy of exploring the tablet had turned into a confusing maze of emotions. They didn't understand the videos they were watching, but something inside them told them they should feel uncomfortable. They tried to push those feelings aside, but it was impossible to ignore the gnawing sense of guilt that seemed to follow them everywhere. "I don't get it, Mary," Samuel said one evening, sitting beside her on the bed. His voice was quiet, almost unsure. "Why do we keep watching these? I don't think we should." Mary stared at her hands, twisting them in her lap. "I don't know either, Samuel. I feel like we're not supposed to be doing this, but I can't stop. And it's making me feel so weird." It wasn't just guilt that plagued them, it was confusion. They didn't understand what they were seeing, but the urge to watch more was overpowering. It wasn't long before they began to mimic the behavior in the videos, even though they didn't fully grasp the consequences. One afternoon, after watching a particularly strange video, Samuel turned to Mary with a nervous laugh. "Let's try that thing they did in the video. Maybe it'll be fun." Mary hesitated but nodded. "Okay, but I don't know what I am doing." They attempted to copy the strange actions they had seen, but it didn't feel fun. It didn't feel right either. Instead of laughter, they felt a heavy silence between them as they tried to follow along. The more they mimicked the videos, the more upset they became. It wasn't the same as the innocent games they used to play. The videos had taken something from them, their carefree spirit, their sense of fun, and their confidence. The weight of the guilt pressed down, and they both started to feel scared of what they were doing, scared of getting caught, and scared of how they felt afterward. One evening, as they sat in Samuel's room, the discomfort reached its peak. Samuel wiped his eyes with the back of his hand, his voice shaking. I don't want to do this anymore, Mary. But I don't know how to stop. Mary was equally upset, but the words seemed to stick in her throat. I don't either, Samuel. I feel like if we tell someone, they'll be angry, or worse, maybe they won't understand. The fear of talking to adults, of explaining what they had seen, felt like a chasm between them and their parents. They were scared of being judged, of the disappointment they might cause, and the overwhelming shame that came with the secret. They tried to forget about the videos, but the images would creep back into their minds at night when they were alone, when the silence of the dark room seemed to make everything feel worse. The feeling of guilt was all-consuming, and it kept them both up late, tossing and turning. They couldn't stop thinking about it, couldn't shake the emotional burden that had come from keeping the secret. It was clear that the deeper they got into this secret world, the harder it became to communicate with their parents. They couldn't bring themselves to share the truth. Not yet. The thought of telling an adult filled them with dread. Would they understand, or would they be angry? But the emotional weight of the secret was becoming too much to carry, and each passing day felt like a reminder that they couldn't go on like this forever. The fear, guilt, and confusion continued to grow, making them realize they needed help, but they didn't know how to ask. One afternoon, after a few days of trying to ignore the strange app, Mary finally broke the silence between her and Samuel. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes downcast, the weight of their shared secret heavy in the air. Samuel, she began hesitantly, I think we should try again. Samuel looked up from the tablet, his heart racing. The thought of returning to the app, to the videos that had caused so much discomfort, made him uneasy. He shook his head slightly, his stomach churning. No, Mary, he said quietly. I don't think we should. I don't want to do this anymore. It doesn't feel right. Marge's face fell. But we've already watched them, Samuel. Maybe this time will be different. We won't mimic them, I promise. She gave him a pleading look, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and desperation. Just one more time. I think we'll feel better if we know what's going on. I just want to understand. Samuel hesitated. His mind raced with conflicting thoughts. He knew deep down that returning to the app wasn't the right thing to do, but the pull to understand more, whatever that meant, was strong. He didn't want to disappoint Mary, especially since their friendship had already started to feel distant. Okay, he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. But just this once. We'll stop after this, promise? Mary nodded eagerly, though both of them knew deep down that it would be hard to stop once they were drawn into the cycle again. With a deep breath, Samuel unlocked the tablet and opened the app. The screen lit up in front of them and they both stared at it in silence, the familiar sense of unease creeping back. The strange, unsettling thumbnails and titles appeared, just as they had before. They hesitated, both of them staring at the screen as if they could will the fear away. Just as Mary moved to click on a video, the door to Samuel's room opened with a soft knock. Samuel? His mother's voice called out from the hallway. Mary froze, and Samuel's heart skipped a beat. Yeah, Mom? Samuel replied quickly, trying to hide his nervousness. Samuel's mom stepped inside, her warm smile fading as she noticed the tense atmosphere in the room. She looked between her son and Mary, sensing something was off. What's going on in here? She asked gently, her eyes narrowing with concern. Both kids looked down at the tablet, as if it could hide their feelings. The app was still open, the unsettling images frozen on the screen. Samuel's mother's gaze shifted to the tablet and then back to her son. She could tell something was wrong. Samuel, Mary, why aren't you outside playing? You've both been quiet lately. What's going on? She asked, her voice soft but filled with concern. Samuel's stomach twisted. He felt trapped, caught between the guilt of what they had been doing and the fear of disappointing his mom. He opened his mouth to say something, but the words wouldn't come. Mary looked at Samuel, then back at his mom. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. We were just looking at something on the tablet, but it's nothing. It's just videos. Samuel's mom sat down beside them, her voice gentle but firm. Videos? What kind of videos? Mary looked at Samuel, her eyes wide with fear, but Samuel knew it was time to tell the truth. His throat tightened, but he finally found the courage to speak. We found something on the tablet. It made us feel uncomfortable, but we kept watching." He paused, his voice shaking. "We don't know why we kept watching, but it felt wrong." His mom's expression softened, but she remained calm. "It's okay, Samuel. Thank you for telling me. What you found wasn't meant for children. It's important that you talk to me if you ever see something that makes you uncomfortable." Samuel and Mary looked at each other, the weight of their secret slowly lifting. For the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of relief. "Thank you for trusting me," Samuel's mom said. "Now let's talk about how to stay safe online, okay?" As Samuel's mom sat down beside them, the room felt strangely calm. The weight of the secret that had burdened Samuel and Mary for weeks seemed to slowly lift, though the fear and confusion still lingered. Samuel and Mary sat quietly, listening as his mom began to speak, her tone soothing but firm. "Samuel, Mary, what you found on the tablet is not meant for children, and it's important that you understand why it made you both feel uncomfortable," Samuel's mom said gently, her eyes softening. She looked at both children, seeing the mixture of relief and guilt in their eyes. It's okay to feel confused, and it's okay to not know what to do in situations like this. What matters is that you talk about it. Mary looked down at her hands, the guilt still heavy in her chest. "But we didn't tell anyone," she said quietly, her voice barely audible. "We were scared of what you'd think." "That's normal, Mary," Samuel's mom replied, her voice warm. "You both kept this secret because you didn't understand what you were seeing, and that's okay. But the most important thing is that you know you can always come to me, or any trusted adult, if something online makes you feel uncomfortable, confused, or scared." Samuel nodded, his own guilt still weighing on him. "We're sorry, Mom. We should have told you earlier." "I understand, Samuel," she said, giving him a gentle hug. "What matters now is that you've told me, and we can talk about how to stay safe online." She took a deep breath, then turned to address both of them. The internet is full of great things, games, videos, educational tools, but it's also full of things that aren't meant for kids. That's why it's so important to know how to stay safe. The videos you watched, they weren't just confusing, they were inappropriate, and you shouldn't have seen them. She paused for a moment, making sure they understood the seriousness of the conversation. There are rules we follow when we use the internet, like only visiting trusted sites, never sharing personal information, and always asking an adult if something doesn't feel right. You both did the right thing by coming to me now. Next time, I want you to come to me the moment you feel something isn't right, okay? Both children nodded. Though the conversation felt heavy, they both felt a sense of relief they hadn't realized they needed. "I am glad you both trusted me enough to share this," Samuel's mom continued. "But you don't have to go through these things alone. Communication is key. If you don't understand something online, or if something upsets you, always talk to someone who can help. Your safety is my top priority, and I want you to feel safe when you are exploring online." Mary wiped her eyes, a small smile forming on her lips. "Thanks, Auntie," she said softly. "We'll be more careful." Samuel nodded, feeling a sense of peace he hadn't known in weeks. "Yeah, we promise." With that, the conversation shifted to lighter topics, but the lesson had been learned. From that day forward, Samuel and Mary made a pact. They would always communicate openly with their parents, especially about things they didn't understand. They knew that the internet was a big, complicated place, but they didn't have to navigate it alone. As the days went on, Samuel and Mary found themselves laughing more, playing outside like they used to, and feeling a newfound sense of trust in their parents. They were wiser, now more aware of the dangers of the online world, but also reassured that they had someone to turn to whenever they needed help. Their bond, both with each other and with their families, grew stronger than before. In the days following their conversation with Samuel's mom, life slowly began to return to a sense of normalcy. The heavy burden of their secret had been lifted, and the relief that came from sharing the truth was palpable. Samuel and Mary felt lighter, as though a cloud had been removed from their minds. They had learned valuable lessons, not only about the dangers of the internet but also about the importance of trust and open communication. One of the first changes came with the new rules for using the tablet. Samuel's mom, understanding that it was important to protect her son and his friend while still allowing them the freedom to explore, set clear boundaries. "From now on, you both will only use the tablet when one of us is around," she told them one afternoon. "If you want to watch videos or play games, you'll need to ask for permission first. We'll also make sure that the apps you use are safe and appropriate for you." At first, the new rules felt a little restrictive, but Samuel and Mary quickly understood why they were necessary. They no longer had to sneak around, worried about being caught or feeling guilty. Instead, they were able to enjoy the tablet together with the peace of mind that came from knowing they were safe. The most surprising part for both of them was the relief they felt from sharing their secret. The weight that had been hanging over them for so long had finally been lifted. They no longer had to carry the guilt and fear alone. Being able to talk about it openly with Samuel's mom felt like a weight had been taken off their shoulders, and they felt more connected to their families than ever before. As the days passed, Samuel and Mary gradually returned to their old routines. They spent more time outdoors, playing soccer, riding bikes, and laughing together like they used to. The tablet no longer held the same allure, and they found that they enjoyed the simple pleasures of childhood once again. They rediscovered the fun of exploring the world around them, feeling the warmth of the sun on their faces, and hearing the sounds of their friends calling out as they played. They also became more mindful of their actions when it came to online content. Whenever they wanted to use the tablet or watch videos, they made sure to ask for permission first, and they were more cautious about the kinds of apps and websites they visited. It was a change that came naturally as they had learned firsthand the potential dangers of the online world. Samuel and Mary became more aware of how easily things could go wrong online. They talked about internet safety with their parents and even discussed it with their friends. They learned the importance of setting boundaries, asking for help when needed, and not being afraid to speak up if something felt off. They understood that the internet could be a wonderful place for fun and learning, but it could also be a risky space if not used responsibly. In the end, Samuel and Mary's friendship grew stronger, not just from the fun they shared, but from the trust they had in each other and in their families. They knew that if anything ever felt uncomfortable again, they could talk about it openly. They had learned that being wise and responsible online wasn't just about following rules. It was about knowing when to ask for help, when to trust an adult, and when to walk away from something that didn't feel right. The internet is a powerful tool that offers countless opportunities for fun, education, and creativity. However, it also holds potential dangers that children may not fully understand. While the internet can be a source of joy and exploration, it is important to recognize that not everything online is safe or appropriate. Samuel and Mary's experience highlights how curiosity can lead to unintended exposure to harmful content, making it crucial to guide children in navigating the digital world safely. One of the most significant lessons learned from Samuel and Mary's experience is the importance of adult guidance. Both children had access to the tablet, but without proper supervision, they found themselves exposed to content they didn't fully understand. Samuel's mom stepped in at the right moment, offering support and teaching them how to safely engage with online content. It's vital for children to have trusted adults they can turn to when they encounter something confusing or unsettling, ensuring that they are never alone in their online journeys. Keeping secrets about online activities can lead to confusion, fear, and isolation. Samuel and Mary's experience shows how hiding what they were doing created unnecessary emotional stress. The fear of being judged or not understood kept them from speaking up, making it harder to seek help. It's important for children to know that here is no shame in asking questions or sharing something that makes them uncomfortable. Open communication is key to avoiding the negative emotional impact of keeping secrets. Regular conversations about internet safety are essential for children, especially as they become more independent online. Samuel and Mary's story shows that children may not always recognize when they are engaging with harmful content, which is why it's crucial for parents and guardians to initiate these conversations. Discussing the risks, Setting boundaries and educating children on the dangers of inappropriate content help build a foundation of trust and awareness, ensuring children know what to do when faced with challenges online. The content children access should always be age-appropriate. In the case of Samuel and Mary, the videos they encountered were not meant for children, and they lacked the maturity to fully comprehend or process what they saw. It's important for parents to monitor the content their children are exposed to and ensure it aligns with their developmental stage. Age-appropriate content helps children learn, grow, and have fun without exposing them to harmful material they are not ready to handle. Friendship plays a pivotal role in shaping choices, and Samuel and Mary's bond was tested by the pressure to keep watching the video. However, true friendship means supporting each other in making positive decisions. Both children struggled with the temptation to continue watching, but ultimately they supported each other in coming forward and telling a trusted adult. This experience reinforced that friends should encourage healthy behaviors and look out for one another, especially in challenging situations. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. See you in the next video.